The third and final area of Wrought Flesh takes place in the farthest north of the planet, an Arctic tundra where a massive arc ship has crashed, and you have to make your way inside and then all the way to the top. This is the only linear part of the game, so I'd approach level building a little differently than before. I built the levels in Blender by just drawing out the floors, extruding up, flipping the normals, and assigning different materials to the floor, ceiling, and walls. For the enemies, I was inspired by Melody Sheep's Time-Lapse of the Future. There's this quote from Sean Carroll that basically says, if you concentrate enough energy in a single point, you can spawn a new baby universe. And that gave me the idea of, what if a sentient species is in the universe dying from entropy, so they spawn a new universe and escape into it, and then that universe dies, so they spawn a new one, and just repeat forever. So this species exists for trillions of years and becomes impossibly advanced godlike beings whose mere presence distorts the fabric of reality in whatever universe they're in. And it just so happens that our universe was created by them, and these beings are in the early stages of moving into it. Barely noticeable at the moment, but occasional unlucky ships might encounter one of these beings in the farthest depths of space. Astronauts exposed to them go mad, mutate, maybe gain supernatural abilities, and that's the lore behind the Nautilus Swarm, which you encounter in the final areas of the game. These things are an old design of mine. You can actually see them in an old jam game I did years ago. These were also the first enemies I imagined in the game early on, and they're basically just zombies, but it's how I'm changing the pace in the game at this point that makes them stand out. So when you get on the ship, basically something happens and you lose all your organs, so suddenly now you're weak and slow, and you have to use these shitty desiccated organs that the zombie Nautilus drop, and you have to move through these claustrophobic spaces and check corners and stuff so nothing gets to jump on you, so it's a much different tone at this point of the game from everything else. And once you reach the end, there's the final boss arena. I'm not going to talk about the final boss in this video because spoilers, but the fight takes place at the top of the arc ship and has a pretty cool view. For these windows, I just used an additive shader with a simple texture to make it look like condensation from the cold, and it looks pretty nice. I also added a character creator at the beginning of the game where you select what limbs you have. Different limbs give you different base stats, and the way I made this was just to have 3 different skin textures and a mask texture for each limb. Then I can just use those to select and combine different limbs together. Other stuff I added a ton of new NPCs and quests and items to fill out the world, and implemented an achievement system to incentivize the player to explore all of it. Also added music finally. My friend Prahlad had done some music and sound effects. But then got a job and couldn't work on it anymore, so I had my dad record some samples of different instruments. Some of these I put in the game directly, but with others I hired Jazz Mickle to remix into new tracks. And of course I had to implement a music system to play the correct tracks according to what's happening in game, which is pretty easy. Just if you're in town, play the town track, and if any NPCs in a certain radius are in combat, then play the combat track, otherwise play nothing. I also added weapon recoil, which is pretty fun and was very simple to do. Just rotate the camera up a little bit with each shot. I've been promoting on TikTok a ton, which I should have started doing ages ago because literally my first video on there got 1 million views in a day with no outside promotion, and in the 5 weeks or so that I've been on TikTok, I've gained over 25,000 wishlists on Steam just from TikTok. It's actually insane how easy it is to get views on there. Oh, and I finally set up a Steam page for Wrought Flesh. The store art I made in collaboration with One Enix. I painted the face and then hired Enix to paint over it and do a background and logo. I also do have a confirmed release date. It's tomorrow, actually. I'm releasing Wrought Flesh tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. I meant to have this devlog out weeks ago, but I kind of got busy finishing the game. So yeah, go wishlist Wrought Flesh or buy it if you're watching this tomorrow. I'm going to do one more devlog after release covering spoiler stuff and answering questions. So if you have a question for me, leave a comment and I'll see you next time.